Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome. Today we have a tasty topic in front of us. We have a business, but that's also a product, but it's also a story of innovation and creativity and solving problems. It's a great little story, and it starts with something actually kind of little. It starts with baby carrots. Baby carrots are great to study, and they're great to eat. They're great topics of uh, conversation, and they're great side dishes to meals. Baby carrots are popular and convenient. They're a great source of the nutrients that a human body needs. They lack a lot of the extra stuff that a human body doesn't need a ton of. Baby carrots are very flexible. They can be side dishes. They can be main stars of a certain meal. They can be eaten right out of the bag. They can be eaten right out of the fridge. And in fact, I would wager that some of you even had baby carrots in your school lunch today, or you will have baby carrots in your school lunch today. And why not? Because they're healthy, delicious, and they're great for all people. But it's not just that baby carrots are an awesome snack or an awesome food, but they're actually a great story as well. Baby carrots are the story about finding a problem and being curious in the world. Baby carrots are the story of first attempts and taking action. And life, we have to remember that life is messy. The real world out there is a difficult place to make solutions. It's not like a class where sometimes you get the wrong answer and then you change it to another answer and there you go. But life is like it takes a second attempt and a third attempt and a fourth attempt, and baby carrots embody that story. They demonstrate that it's first and second and third and fourth attempts until you get something right. Baby carrots also tell the story of making products easier and how important that is for consumers. We're also going to talk about how do you market a vegetable? Vegetables are known as commodities where one thing is the same as the next thing. But baby carrots are a little different. They offer an insight into how you market things and products. And then we'll talk about carrot trends. But before we get started, I have a question. Are baby carrots a different type of carrot? You think of that carrot that you drew when you were in third grade. You got the orange crayon and you made that big triangle, and maybe you had a green crayon where you would make the stem. Are baby carrots a different type of carrot from that carrot, from the canonical carrot, from the carrot that everybody sort of knows and recognizes, that Bugs Bunny was always chomping on when he was eating, that maybe Bluey the dog still see in their television show? No, baby carrots are the same type of carrot. They're actually just smaller pieces of those classic carrots that we know and love, that we are very familiar with. But how? When? Where? What? Huh? Like baby carrots came from those traditional carrots. And that's the story that we're actually going to look at. Baby carrots were born, or the idea for baby carrots were born way back in the 1980s. There was a California carrot farmer named Mike Urasek, and he got tired of throwing away so much of his product. See, Mike would take the time to have these nice, clean, neat rows of carrots, and he would take the time to keep the weeds away from the carrots, and he would take the time and the energy and the money to water all of his carrots. And then he would dig a carrot out of the ground, and it would be deformed, it would be split, it would be dirty, it would have a growth, and it wouldn't be that perfect carrot. Remember those carrots that you drew in third grade? It wouldn't look like that. And if you go to the store, you'll know that the carrots that we sell at the store are still kind of like that. They're still like those classic triangle carrots that you were drawing with crayons back in the day. And so if a carrot wasn't like that, Mike had to throw it away. So Mike tried something. He tried taking those extra carrots that he couldn't sell in the store because they were ugly carrots, and he tried to sell them to ranchers. And at first, ranchers loved this idea. Cattle ranchers would buy Mike's carrots and feed it to the cows, and the cows loved the carrots. In fact, the cows actually loved the carrots too much. See, when the cows ate too many carrots, they actually turned orange. This isn't a picture of one of those cows. This is a picture that a large language model, artificial intelligence program generated of an orange cow. But it's a really good indicator, and it's a good memory for our point, is that the cow's meat turned orange. So people went to the grocery store and the steaks kind of were orange, and the hamburger was kind of orange, and the other cuts of meat was kind of orange. And customers, people, grocery shoppers, they didn't want to buy orange meat. So that didn't work for Mike. So think of something that is a problem. So the initial problem farmers had was that they were throwing away too much of their crop. And one of the solutions that didn't ultimately end up working, but they tried, was feeding all of that product waste to cows. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video for a moment and have a brief discussion, offer some suggestions about what is something that you think is a problem. And if you feel so inclined, go ahead and offer up a solution. Okay? Were there some good problems and some questionable solutions? Maybe there were some good solutions. I don't know. I'm talking to you from a different place and a different time. But our second point that we want to make about baby carrots is first attempts. This isn't Mike or his wife. This is a very famous painting. But Mike's wife also had a problem. See, Mike's problem was that he was throwing away too many carrots. And Mike's wife's problem was that she didn't like all of the time that it took to clean and cut and slice and dice and wash and polish the carrots. Can you imagine living on a carrot farm? You must have carrots for every meal. It must be carrot cake, carrot cookies, carrot muffins. At the Super Bowl parties, instead of chicken wings, it's carrots, and you're dipping carrots in ranch and mayonnaise and ketchup. Don't laugh, don't shake your head about ketchup. There are some people where the only thing they dip in is ketchup, and they dip everything in their ketchup. So Mike's wife asks him if he could help out. So Mike gets to work, and he makes a machine that does that. This isn't the machine that Mike made. This is another large language model, artificial intelligence generated image. But it's kind of steampunky, and it looks cool. It looks like the kind of thing where you could put carrots in the top, and they would get washed, and they would get chopped, and they would get peeled, and they would tumble, and it would be good for Mike's wife. You know, if you could put a whole carrot from the field in a machine, and at the beginning it was in one big piece, and it was dirty, and it was all together, and then at the end it was cleaned and chopped and ready to be put on a salad or whatever. Well, that would be exactly what Mike's wife wanted. In fact, it worked. Mike made a machine that cleaned up the carrots, and his wife had them out. Maybe it was that Super Bowl party, and she was using them in the kitchen, but people kept going through the kitchen and eating the carrots. She would shoo them away, and they would come back and eat them, and they were just sort of snacking on them. And so Mike goes to his wife, and he asks her. He said, "How did it go? How was cooking with the carrots?" And she said, "Well, I didn't really get a chance to because people were snacking on them. Sorry." And Mike says, "Oh, no. This is wonderful. This is great news. And in fact, if people are eating these carrots as a snack, that's even better than people wanting these carrots for food preparation." So their original strategy was to make the carrots easier for cooks, but instead they stumbled on the category of snack food. So Mike thought he was going to compete with Doritos and Takis and Snickers bars and anything else that you would get to pack in a lunch or to snack on. That's what Mike thought he was going to sell. So we're going to get another chance to pause the video and think about something that you could repackage, reuse, repurpose. Think of something that you can hack. One of the early product hacks was Instagram stores. So many years ago, when Instagram was going through their code and their users' use cases, they found out that some people were taking pictures, and they would be uploaded for an hour or a day, and then they would delete the picture. And if you've been on Instagram, that's not typically how it works. Typically, someone uploads a picture and it stays up there. So what Instagram found when they were looking into some of these users is that the users were uploading pictures as a store. They would buy dresses at consignment shops, or they would present things that they had made, and the product would be on their Instagram page, much like a product would be on a shelf. And then when the product is sold, much like a product that's on this shelf, they would take it down because it wasn't available to purchase anymore. So think of a way that a product can be repackaged, reused, it can be hacked. There's a different use case than the one that's currently used for it. Go ahead and pause the video now. Did you come up with some good ones? I bet you did. I hope you were very creative. I hope it's not too soon after lunch and you had all of your creative juices flowing. And that brings us to the third point about repurposing products, making it easier. Human beings are motivated by the familiar, by the normal, by the easy. We love smashing that easy button. In fact, I don't know where you are. I don't know how you're sitting in class today, but I would wager that you probably walked to class the same way today that you always do. In fact, however you got to school was probably the same route as it always is. And that's a form of things being easy. We don't like to branch out. It takes extra effort for our brain to figure those things out. And as human beings, we're motivated that we pursue the easy routes. So when we can make products easier, like making carrots easier to snack on, products tend to grow. One classic example of that is known as the desire paths at Ohio State University. So the top picture is when the original buildings of Ohio State University were built. And you can see there's kind of some dirt paths leading from one section to another. And then the bottom portion of the image is the sidewalks at Ohio State University now. Well, the way the top picture became the bottom picture was the engineers and the architect and the university president met with the concrete pourers, and they said, okay, we don't want you to put sidewalks in yet. We don't even know where the sidewalks are going to go. We want you all to come back in 1 year's time. And then once students have worn paths into the grass, we'll know where the desire paths, we'll know where the sidewalks need to go for the students at the university. And it worked great. In fact, you're probably familiar with a desire path. You've probably seen one of these at a park or at a store, maybe even at your school. There's a pathway cut through the grass where people take the shortest route between 2 points. And if that's a straight line through a little grassy area or a landscaped area, then that's the way that people are going to walk. So we're going to take another moment to pause the video and think about what can you make easier? Now, over 70% of all carrots sold are baby carrots, a product that didn't even exist until the late 90s. So what is something that you could make easier? What is something that could be less difficult? What is something that could be tastier, cheaper, or less time-consuming? What is something that you could make so that people will consume more of it, or people will do it more, or anything like that? Feel free to be creative. Go ahead and pause the video now and share some ideas. Now here, I bet you came up with some good ones. I bet there were some ways about making homework easier. In fact, homework would be easier if your teacher gave you time in class to do it because you're already at school, you're already focused, you're locked in. The fourth point about baby carrots, the marketing effort. You see, selling carrots to people, selling any kind of thing that people aren't normally buying is kind of a challenge. They're not familiar with it. They don't know what to do with it. It's just a different situation. This is a still image from a video. This is a commercial from the 1990s. And what this woman is wearing, she's wearing these belts, these black belts, and those are carrots in the belts. And what she has in her hands is a machine that launches carrots into the mouths of other people. It was the 90s. There was this whole thing around skateboard culture and extreme. The growth of Mountain Dew came in the 1990s. It was just a different era. And so that's how they sold baby carrots. The baby carrots were an extreme snack. But carrots weren't the only food item to try this. This is an advertisement from the 1980s, and that is a singing raisin. Maybe your parents or even your grandparents at this point will remember the California singing raisins, but it was another way to advertise a commodity. It was a way to advertise something that wasn't typically advertised on television. A classic one is the Got Milk campaign, where famous celebrities like Steph Curry or famous athletes of other sorts would have a milk mustache. And the Got Milk marketing campaign was a hugely successful marketing campaign. So carrots, raisins, milk, each of these is a commodity product. One version of it is the same as another. So what makes something good marketing? There's probably a lot of bags in your classroom right now. There's Under Armour bags. Maybe there's Gucci bags or Louis Vuitton bags. Maybe there's JanSport bags. There's probably bags in there that one of your parents got from a conference that they went to. There's all kind of bags. So what is good marketing for a bag that you would take to school? What is good marketing for a bag that you would wear as like a fashion item? What does it mean for something to have good marketing? Why did carrots need to have marketing? Why do raisins and got milk? Why were those marketing? So go ahead and pause the video again. Take a moment to discuss that. Good. Did you get some good ideas? I bet you did. Our fifth point is that carrots are trending. Did you know that carrots are a trending topic? Well, they are. This is the Google search results from July 2024. But as you can see, there's a pretty consistent pattern to it where there's a small peak and the spring of each year, and then a taller peak at the end of each year. And that's a pretty consistent pattern for the last 5 years. And even if we look back from 2004 to present, we see that same pattern where a tall spike is preceded by a slightly smaller spike. So why do we think that is? Why do carrots have two peaks? Why are carrots seasonal? Why are carrots trending? Do we have any ideas? Well, you're going to go ahead and pause the video now and share some of your ideas about why carrots are trending. Did you come up with some good ideas? Excellent. I've got my own theories about why carrots are trending, but I'm going to keep those and let your ideas rule the day. And it's an interesting opportunity for businesses as well. Is your business dependent on the seasons? Do you sell back to school things? That's seasonal. Do you do any holiday shopping? Well, that's all seasonal. Summer things, that's all seasonal. There's a certain seasonality to any product, and you need to know what yours is. Oh, we have a bonus slide. This is from the United States Department of Agriculture, and it shows the pounds of carrots each person eats in a year. And we can see at the beginning of that graph, way back in 1919, Americans ate about 2 pounds of carrots on average. I'm sure some people ate way more than that. And then as we go to the right side of the graph, this is from the 2022 projections, and we can see that people are eating about 8 pounds of carrot a year, so a 4-fold increase over the course of about 100 years. We even see what might be carrot juice with boba in it. I don't know about that. Nod your heads or shake your heads if you think that is a good idea. I don't really think that. And we can see around 1996 is the peak, right around the time when this baby carrot phenomenon took off and people were buying baby carrots. But as we can see, the peak fell off, and we don't quite know why this is. This is from the United States Department of Agriculture. So it could be that carrots were substituted with something else, where people got used to buying these nice, clean, easy to eat baby carrots. And so they were like, well, if I'm liking baby carrots, maybe there's other produce that's chopped and presented in such a nice way. And undoubtedly there was. So baby carrots had a substitution. There were other goods and services that you could substitute for them. It's kind of like if you have a cookout and you have hot dogs and hamburgers. Well, you might have a really strong preference, but in general, a hot dog and a hamburger are pretty good substitutes. But if you're comparing a steak dinner rather than going to a hot dog stand, those aren't really substitute goods for each other. You wouldn't decide to go to a hot dog stand if you were planning on a steak dinner and vice versa. So we don't quite know. But there's one other interesting point of this graph, and it's in this red circle. Do you see that? That left-hand peak in the 1940s? Nod your heads or shake your heads if you know what this was. This peak in the 1940s. If you're a history buff, you probably know that this was actually World War II, when the United States government did their own form of marketing and encouraged Americans to plant victory gardens. Victory gardens were a way so that carrot producers like Mike were able to send their produce to the troops and to the people in Europe, and the Americans could eat their own produce. They could eat their own watermelons and tomatoes and, of course, carrots. So not only are carrots a tasty, delicious, awesome snack, but they're a great example of product innovation. They're a great example of creativity and taking action. We looked at orange cows, how we can find a problem. We have to be curious enough to ask what's a problem and think of solutions. And we can fail at our first attempts at finding a solution, and that's okay. We can think about our first attempts and then a pivot when Mike thought he was making carrots for his wife to cook with, but really he made a very popular snack. We can think about smashing the easy button. People like easy things. Here's a tip. The next time you need to ask your parents something, you want to go to a friend's house, a sleepover, a trip, you want to do something at school, make it easy for your parents to say yes. Think about the things your customer, in this case your parents, want out of the situation, and make it easy for them to get those things. Singing raisins? You have to be creative when you market a commodity. You have to be creative coming up with novel ideas about selling a product. I mean, the singing raisins, that was a wild thing, but here we are, many years later, still talking about them. And carrots are trending. How can you sell into a trend? Every product has some trends based on the seasonality of life. How can you sell into those things? And lastly, if your teacher wants to find this video on CBS Sunday Morning, it tells a few more details about the history of carrots, which I think we can agree are not only tasty and delicious, but fun to learn about as well.